Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Drink Offering Podcast. And we have a great guest, very interesting subject that we are going to discuss today with our good friend. Now, we always encourage you to check out our website, DrinkOffering.tv. That is where our paid content is that we can make money to survive. This is the free stuff. Please enjoy the free stuff, but feel free to also sample and enjoy the paid stuff as well. DrinkOffering.tv. You can enjoy Taste and See TV, our Bible Lands travel show. We're always about presenting unique perspectives, really designed to make research fun, get you to take a look at a different angle at a subject and topic. And today is no different. We're going to be talking about differing Holocaust perspectives with our guest that we've known for quite a while, Thomas. Now, I should ask at the beginning, am I calling you Thomas or am I calling you Tomek? What am I going with?
Friends call me Tomek, so that's the answer.
Okay, I'll go with, so Thomas it is. Tomek, wonderful. So it's a drink offering podcast. So what are you drinking tonight? Are you having coffee, tea, beer?
I had my wine already.
You're already done.
I think, yeah. That's the, I needed that one before we start. No, I'm getting also again a red wine.
Wonderful. I'm having a chocolate stout and my cup of water just in case I need it as well. But so first, where can people check out more of your programs? Oh, there's the wine. Perfect. So if they want to see more about your programs, what's the website? Where can they see more of you?
So it's historyofjw.tours. That's the website, and also Instagram is history of JW. So this is like the brand.
Perfect. And so we'll talk maybe at the end. We'll hit on the end. You got some stuff in the works as well. Maybe some pay-per-view videos, documentary style type of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But they can sign up on your email list and keep up to date with programs and tours that you got. First question, and I didn't throw this one to you before, but would you consider yourself a Holocaust historian, so to speak?
No.
Played it safe.
Because we thought. So to be honest, the Nazi time, which includes the Holocaust. So this is what, since I'm a boy, I'm interested in. I visited the first time. My first concentration camp that I visited was Auschwitz, and I was 12. So since then, I'm reading about this, watching all kind of movies, and reading all different kind of comics also about this stuff. So
comics.
Comics,
they have Holocaust comics.
Yes. There's one really good one that I can really recommend. It's called Mouse. That's an amazing comic where the Jews are mice and the Nazis are cats. Really good one. It's written by a Jewish man who, if I remember well, his parents have been in a concentration camp, or grandparents, I'm not sure right now. And I think in the 80s, it was in the States, it was also in the schools. I'm not right now. So it's called Mouse. It's a really good one. Very good one.
So you seem like a pretty, as far as we've known you, you're a pretty cheery, happy guy. How do you get so in deep with such a dark topic? I mean, there's no darker topic in history than the Holocaust. What's the fascination for you? Because you spent, endless hours of research and study on this topic. What's the appeal for you?
Maybe because I'm too happy, so I needed a balance. No. I think when the first visit of Auschwitz was so it was not planned. My parents, or where I was born in Poland, it's just 1 hour away from Auschwitz. But as a kid, never realized that, of course, and so my parents moved to Germany when I was 6 years old. But then when we visited our grandparents and stuff like that, so one day my parents said, hey, let's go to visit Auschwitz. And so it was quite a shock for a 12-year-old boy. And the moment when I said, hey, this is so interesting for me is because when we have been there in the place where the ovens are, where the bodies were burned, at that moment, there was also an old Jewish man who came from Australia with his grandson and was talking or telling us his story, how he survived Auschwitz. And he showed us all the number on the arm. And that was, for me as a 12-year-old boy, it was, yeah, the people are still alive. So this was a shocking moment. Then I started to read books, and I always loved books. And then I met some Jehovah's Witnesses who also survived this Holocaust. And so I made, survivors, real survivors, and listened to the story. And they have been also happy. So even surviving such a dark thing, they still remain happy. So I think you can be a happy guy and be still interested in such a dark topic.
So, okay, I like that it's from the Jewish man. They're showing you the tattoo. I mean, this is the whole thing. I mean, we're here in Israel. The Holocaust is an open wound still, all these years later. It's especially if you're talking about religion or God or anything like that. I mean, this is, you can't help but have it come up. And there's a joke that I heard, if you can call it a joke, that I feel kind of captures the essence of the Jewish perspective on it. And that's, it goes, there's this old Jewish guy, lives through the Holocaust, his whole family dies, and but he makes it through, and comes to Israel, has a good life, has a family, good job, good career, retires, dies of old age, very happy, and he goes up to heaven and meets God, and he goes, hey, it's God, anything you want to ask or talk to me about or anything like that? And he goes, oh man, there's so many things, right? Oh, hey, I'll tell you a joke. Do you want to hear a joke? And God goes, oh, of course, I'd love to hear a joke. It was great. It's a Holocaust joke. And God says, oh, no, we don't joke about the Holocaust. And the guy goes, yeah, well, okay, I guess that's a bit too far. I mean, you had to be there anyways to kind of get it. And so it's like a really dark joke where it's the whole thing is God wasn't there. That's the Jewish perspective. So it's such this dark take. Ariel Sharon, who was a prime minister for a time, he was a military commander. He had said at one point, he goes, the sad, horrible conclusion is that no one cared that Jews were being murdered. This is a Jewish lesson of the Holocaust and the lesson that Auschwitz has taught us. So, I mean, it's generalities, right? Like I'm certainly no Holocaust historian or have any expertise in it. It's just kind of, you live in the country that basically came about as a result of it, and you start to see these things and hear these things everywhere. It's a big deal here. So, I mean, how would you describe from your research with witnesses and what they went through, what's the general view of Jehovah's Witnesses looking back at the Holocaust while they're going through it even? But what's the viewpoint, what's their takeaway, could you say?
That's interesting because when I started first, like reading as a 12, 13, 14 years old boy, these different kind of books, I realized how depressing this is. Definitely, as you said, dark topic and this gas chambers and how many million people died. But when I met these Jehovah's Witnesses who have been survivors on, mostly was 96, 97, one of them, special one, Gertrude Pötzinger, she was laughing. And it was, hey, and when she was telling also some funny stories from the concentration camp. And then I realized, wow, that's a little bit different. So this is why I stick with this witnesses most, because yes, they also had a experienced this very bad thing. And some of them also cry if they tell something what happened there when they start to remember. But most of them, or which everybody I met, The biggest difference is that they were, some even said they were happy to experience that. And I don't think that any Jew or anybody else, any Sinti Roma, any communist or who anybody else will said he was happy to experience that. Hermine Schmidt said that she said that she was happy because thanks this she could get a better connection to her God. So this is pretty interesting that these people, this group of Jehovah's Witnesses, they watch at this Holocaust thing as a victory and as something that could prove what is right, what is wrong. So I think it's a complete different point of view that other survivors had, especially as you said, people because of their race as a Jew.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's something I've noted too. It's almost like we say a badge of honor that they're like we celebrate the fact that witnesses went through the Holocaust, and we're like, yeah, good for us. And it's like, it's the Holocaust. Like, are you sure we should be happy about that? But it's a very striking, very different perspective, right? Of almost a celebratory, like a pride of having been able to go through it. Like judged worthy to go through the Holocaust almost. And it's kind of it's strange, a little bit dark, right? But so the question I got, so something when we when I'm looking at pictures of the Holocaust and kind of Germany in that time period, there's something that I noticed that was missing. And I got a chance to ask it when we were at Talit, here just south of Haifa. A few minutes, there's a place at Talit. It's a camp that was built by the British. And it's not a concentration camp, but boy, does it look like a concentration camp. And it was built by the British for any that were escaping Europe, any of the Jews escaping Europe to get to Israel or British Mandate Palestine at the time. The British would either turn them around or they'd sail them into these camps, which, if you're escaping the concentration camps, this sure looks like one. So we're touring through it and looking at it all, and they got all the photos everywhere. And I finally asked the girl, I go, where are all the Orthodox? Where's the black and white and the curls and the hats? I mean, they all got the hats, different hats. Where are they? Like, are they all dead at this point? Like what's? I mean, I know most of them got wiped out, but and she goes, no, they hid their identity. I mean, if you're walking around like an Orthodox Jew, you're the first guy going to the camp. You shave the locks. You wear regular clothes. You abandon the identity. Now, a little bit different Jews and witnesses, because it's not like Jehovah's Witnesses have a special hat that they wear or something like this. But was there the same type of idea of knowing that, if we're not careful, we're going to get thrown into a camp, so let's change how we're not identified, but changing kind of what's known about them, changing routines, changing patterns, kind of changing the predictability that the Nazis would look and go, oh, hey, there's a witness. Was there any attempt on that end that you know about?
That's really interesting. You said badge of honor, right? About this is pretty interesting.
But did they walk around with a purple triangle?
I got a story from a communist man who was in a concentration camp in Dachau, close to Munich, and Jehovah's Witnesses, as they do, preached to him and convinced him that this is the truth, and so he wants to become a Jehovah's Witness in the camp, and went to the Lagerälteste, to the major, and said, I want to change my badge. I want now the purple one. Because I want to be identified as a Jehovah's Witness, not as a communist. So it was really for them the badge of honor. And that's interesting because the idea of the Nazis was to make this a stigmata. I hope this is the right English word, that's you are not a human anymore. You are a Jew, you are a communist, you are Sinti Roma, you are not a human. It didn't work in case of Jehovah's Witnesses. They were so happy to have this because they could find the friends, they could also identify, they could show who they are. So they used this really as a badge of honor. And of course, this were not used when they were outside the camp. So what you ask about when they have been in Berlin, let's say in the capital, they were of course not walking to the door to door and talk to them. Hey, I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I want to talk about the Bible, like the witnesses do today.
No street work. They weren't standing on the corners.
No card witnessing, not standing on the Alexanderplatz and on a chair and shouting the truth to the people. No, definitely not. But they didn't stop preaching. So they did in a different way. So it wasn't like, okay, let's hide ourselves and stay in the house and stay in the basement and that's it. No, they were still going to the people. They were still having meetings. Another interesting story was, I think, 1936 or 37, the memorial, the most important holiday of the witnesses, was on the 1st of April. And the Nazis knew that. But this didn't stop the witnesses to not having this holiday. So they met this 4th of April, even they knew the Nazis will knock on our doors, and they did. The Nazis knocked on the door, and 4th of April was that a lot of witnesses have been imprisoned because the Nazis knew, okay, this is where we get all of them. And even the Nazis knew that the witnesses will not hide themselves. I think that's a big difference. That's a really, really big difference in this thing. Of course, they were not walking with the watchtower, right?
Yeah.
But but they were walking with the Bible. They were still using the Bible. So
change in routine, and it is a bit different because with the Jews, they're identified even by with the caricatures, right? If you had a certain nose and a certain facial features, it didn't matter what kind of hat or clothing you were wearing. If you had a hook nose, you were getting hauled and questioned anyways. So it was a bit different. We talk about like this different attitude and the vibe, right? The music we tend to forget all this music, especially on the Jewish side. A ton of music came out of the Holocaust. It not all depressing. Some of it was peppy, do you want to call it that? Like some was pretty upbeat and hopeful. But it's because some of this stuff, the songs that we have today on the Jewish side, there's songs that were written in the camps, the ghettos, protest songs, the displaced were writing songs. People wrote songs while in hiding. One of the interesting ones I thought was from Dachau, the Dachau song, written by Sophia and Zipper, 1938. And they wanted it to be an ironic song in response to the inscription on the gate of, I'm going to butcher my German here, Arbeit macht frei. Did I do that terribly?
Yes, you did. let's Arbeit macht frei.
Much better.
Let me stop you on this just for about Arbeit macht frei. That's not a Nazi idea. This idea is it's older than the Nazis. So it was in the 19th century, and they adapted this as many of ideas. So this is not something that, they stole the ideas. A lot of these ideas. It's Nazis, right? Based on
Nazis.
We're not even good enough and everything. Yes.
Not even good enough to be original.
No.
What are Nazis good for? So the Dachau song. So it's an ironic song based off. So it basically means work makes freedom, right? So, but the way that they did this was they felt like. Because everyone was being humiliated in Dachau, this constant humiliation. And so they thought that they needed to help them exercise their intellect. So they intentionally created this song to be very difficult to learn. The lyrics were difficult, the rhythm was difficult, and it was meant to be a challenge to the mind, so that the Jews in Dachau would have to be really mentally challenged to remember it. And then, which was kind of different. You wouldn't think that like, oh, let's encourage people with a song. Let's make it the hardest thing ever. But it seemed to work in that case. Our Town is Burning was another one. This was a ghetto song from Poland. They kind of call it a prophetic song. It's from 1936, because 1936. Because it basically is saying, look, our towns are burning. If we don't take up arms and start shooting, then they're going to wipe us out. So, and I mean, there's a gamut of songs in between. Every emotion and spectrum is covered on it. But, we got all these songs preserved for us on the Jewish side to give us a look into what life was like, depending where you were. How many songs do we got on the witness side? Is there a lot? Like, I mean, there's a few that we kind of know. We're like, oh, we know that one. But are there songs that we don't know about that aren't well published, shall we say? Are there ones, shall we say, organizationally, where there were songs like in Canada and the States where they were kind of singing it while thinking about the Holocaust and their brothers going through the Holocaust and things like that? How did music play in?
To be honest, how many songs, I have no idea. The most known that maybe everybody knows is the Fest und Entschloss and in dieser bösen Zeit. That was written in Sachsenhausen. That Jehovah's Witnesses still sing until today. So it's 80 years old song, something like that. But yeah, what are songs? I think songs are also part. It's lyrics, right? It's poem with a sound. So we have dozens of poems.
Okay.
Especially in the women concentration camps. In Ravensbrück, we have a lot of poems, really, really nice poems, very long poems. Also short one. So I'm pretty sure if you would put under this poem as sound, you will get a song. But so real songs like this Sachsenhausen song, Fest und Entschlossen, as I know, there are not so many. No, there were for example, this Sachsenhausen song, Fest und Entschlossen, was used to encourage the witnesses when they have to march to the place where they have to work, and that's also interesting. Normally, the people were put into working for the military, like now building bullets, tanks, whatever, or making uniforms. Just an idea. If I'm right, 100%, if I'm right, the designer of the SS uniform was Hugo Boss. Just to let you know.
That's why they look so snappy.
Yes, he could train he trained this for years. So
Hugo Boss, I bet they've worked hard to bury that. They don't want that on their reputation. Hey, Hugo Boss, designers of the SS uniforms.
Former orders, former jobs. Definitely not. I'm pretty sure not. So even this kind of working, like making, like tailoring this uniforms was also something that witnesses didn't do. So they had jobs like digging holes and stuff like that, and it was much longer than normally, and was much harder than the normal, if you can call it a normal job, of course. And so Erich Frost, he composed this song in the sound it's like a march, it's dum 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 dum. So it's because they were marching this way, and this gave them strength, power, encouragement, something like that, to know, okay, I will survive this because I'm stand firm for my God. So that's the most known thing, and also a pretty funny story how the song get out of the camp in a box of rabbits.
In a box of rabbits.
In a box of rabbits. It was smuggled outside the camp, and it get to Switzerland, and from Switzerland to New York, and that's how it became one of the songs of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I don't know if I knew that. That's you learn something every day. So here's a question, because we're talking with Hugo Boss. So is there ever a trouble of conscience, shall we say, of ones working, you're a typical Jehovah's Witness in Germany, you work for Hugo Boss, you get the uniforms come across, right? Or Bayer, aspirin, it wasn't aspirin, but the Bayer pharmaceuticals, that was they've got a dark history when it comes to the Nazis. Dark. Don't look into the history of Bayer. I mean, Volkswagen, like, were there witnesses working for companies like this where they go, you know what, I just don't know if I can keep working for these guys with, you know, how closely tied they are to like the rocket program or something like this, right? Is there documentation about that kind of stuff where one's quit over these type of reasons?
During the Nazi time or after?
During, or even in the lead up, like as you start seeing guys, you know, like, you know, some of these companies becoming very nationalistic, shall we say, and very, you know, proud and kind of forcing the Heil Hitlers and these things. Are there cases where witnesses, you know, just up and quit their job because they go, I can't work in this type of environment anymore. This company is going the way of the Nazis. Do we have any record of ones that it done? I'm sure it happened, right? Because it happens today, even where it's work for a company that's just, you know, doing not illegal, but something very immoral.
If we talk about during the Nazi regime, if we talk about Volkswagen, Volkswagen is a 100% Nazi created company. So it is created by Adolf Hitler and his very good friend Ferdinand Porsche, the cars.
Really? I didn't know Porsche was involved.
Porsche is until the 90s, the grandson or grandnephew, something like that, of Porsche was running Volkswagen. And Ferdinand Porsche, he designed the Beagle. You call it the Beagle? This old car, this
the Beetle.
The Beetle, yeah, the Beetle. So this is Porsche design. Wow. So I don't think that Jehovah's Witnesses at that time worked at Volkswagen, because at that time it was created like a real Nazi company. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that they didn't. And also this company used for war crimes or something like that. Okay. I think so. We have stories of Jehovah's Witnesses when they had a job and then they had to do something that was for the army. Like it was a company that is not connected with the Nazis really close, but then they got like an order, like a job to do for the soldiers, something like that they said no. So this was that even the company was not like a real Nazi company, but the job was a Nazi thing. So that we have stories that they said, no, I will not do this. And lost the job.
Yeah, is it just lost the job, or do you go to camp for that?
I think the reason why you will get to the camp was not because you said, you know, by saying I'm not doing this job, or I'm not raising my right hand at the factory and shouting Hitler was enough to put you in the camp. So it's like the same thing. You cannot divide the one thing on the other one. It's okay. Yeah. The reason why you came to a concentration camp was always because of your neutrality. Yeah. And this is what you could show in different kind of ways.
Yeah, so neutrality is a big thing, right? I mean, even in Israel today, there's who was it? Elie Wiesel, Nobel Prize, got the Nobel Prize in 1986. He says, I swore to never be silent wherever and whenever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. I mean, that's the Jewish perspective. Israeli perspective, I mean, neutrality gets you killed. Now, witnesses are famously politically neutral, is a term often used, but it's not really accurate, right? Because especially when it comes to the Nazi regime, it's not like they just sat on their hands. So when it comes to the neutrality aspect of it, what was the line? Because I mean, clearly there was some sort of pushback from the witnesses against what the Nazis were trying to do, right? I mean, they're putting in all these policies, and neutrality just goes, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. Nazi Germany, you couldn't sit on the sidelines. So
Yeah.
they were obviously in the camp for a reason. So what was the pushback from witnesses where, as much as we say political neutrality, you know, it's not really accurate, because we actually do kind of, shall we say, push back. Witnesses do push back on that end of it. So what were kind of the targeted ways witnesses kind of, I don't want to say broke neutrality, because that's not the way, but you know what I mean, right? Stood up
definitely.
against.
And I have an answer.
Perfect. I'll shut up.
So yes, absolutely right. So in that case, they showed neutrality in this, that, for example, they did not went on the election and they did not voted for the Nazis. They did not voted for the communists. So that's the neutrality that they keep having all the time.
Can I jump in? Was that the two options? You got Nazis or communists? Was that the only two on the ballot? Because that's a terrible ballot.
Mostly, I would say yes, but the problem is that at that time, when the Nazis started to rule, we had about 25 different political parties here. So you could choose whatever you want, but on the end, it was always between these two guys. So there was also one called the Centrum Party. So yeah, but yeah.
The Central Party was the communists and fascists.
This is like they say, okay, we jump left or right, depends who will win. So it's like that. On the end, they jump right, and the Nazis could win this election. So in that case,
you're in a bad situation when Hitler's your moderate candidate. So
absolutely.
Okay, so continue. So they don't take part in the elections.
In this case. So, but we can't say that Jehovah's Witnesses were not in the resistance. Because Jehovah's Witnesses were in the resistance. What they have done is resistance, definitely, 100%. It was not like you said that you said, okay, I stay in my basement again, the same thing and nothing. No. 2 weeks ago, there was in a very famous museum here in Berlin, it's called Topography of the Terror. And there was a really good event. We are right now translating it into English. There were famous historians, Wolfgang Benz, Tim Müller, and others, talking about the topic brave Bible students, to prove that Jehovah's Witnesses have been in the resistance. And we are fighting since years, Jehovah's Witnesses and these historians, since years, to have a memorial for Jehovah's Witnesses in Berlin. And we have to say it like that. The politicians don't really help us with this. So everything is ready. Everything is finished. We just have to put this on. And the idea is to put this next year, 27th of June, because that's the day when Jehovah's Witnesses have been banned in Prussia, in Berlin. So we want to have this on that day put in the Tiergarten to show Jehovah's Witnesses have been in the resistance. And so, as you said, it's not real neutrality. They were fighting the Nazis. Example, the first year when the Nazis start to rule and they banned Jehovah's Witnesses in the beginning, in 1933, yes, they get a little bit slower, went to the courts and wanted to win on the courts, on the trials, and to prove that this is not right. And after 1 year, or not even 1 year, they realized, okay, we cannot discuss with this Nazi guys. It makes no sense. So they said, so let's fight. And they organized actions like in 1 day to put 10,000 of tracts or resolutions or stuff like that to the people. And these tracts were not like the witnesses today talking about paradise and everything will be great. No, it was talking about the Nazis did this, the Nazis are this, they kill people, it's against God's law, they are the devil's serpents, and this is, so it was really, really telling the people that the Nazis are wrong, they are lying, and you should stop them. So this is resistance. Yeah. Definitely, to tell the people the truth and to show them, hey, the guys you voted for, they lied to you. So I would not call them 100% in that case, neutrality, that they did not want to do nothing. No, they did a lot. Yeah. Another example, if you allow, is the witnesses, they were distributing a book that was not printed or written by the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, a Christianity against the Christianity. Crucial, I forget the English word. What did the British guys in the 10th century went to Israel?
Crusades. Oh, the crusade.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. Crusades against Christianity, and the witnesses had a lot to distribute this book, because that book already had maps and paintings or writings about Sachsenhausen and Dachau concentration camp. So something that people would say, we have no idea. The witnesses were already telling this people to all of them. So they wanted to wake the population, what they have voted for.
I remember watching a movie. I never read the book. I've only discovered books recently, but I watched the movie Downfall, it's called. Did you ever watch that? It's about Hitler's last 10 days in the bunker.
Der Untergang with Bruno Ganz.
Yeah, and it's the memoir based off the memoirs of his secretary, I think it is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, and during it, they have kind of interviews with her, this years later, like she's old and everything. And she's like, they get out, they're all crying, Hitler kills himself and everything. They get out of the bunkers and all this stuff. And they start learning in the papers about these concentration camps and stuff. And they're like, what? Not the Fuhrer. Like, he couldn't do these things. And they had no clue. She was serving him tea every day of her for years and had no idea about these camps and everything. Like, I guess, where did they think all the Jews were going? Like what did was it just, ignorance is bliss? Was it this kind of idea that don't ask, don't tell, how is it that the whole country just doesn't notice millions of people literally vanishing? And, especially if you live near, Treblinka or one of these places, how do you not smell it? How do you not, how do you not know what's going
on? Great movie. I didn't read the book. Great movie.
And a lot of good memes came out of it as well. I think it was like 2012. Yes. There were some great memes, but it was interesting. Very interesting movie. If you haven't seen it, it's interesting.
I remember the day when I watched it with my friends, and it was Duber Sorsoter Peter. It was very interesting. Was showing this 12 years old boys and trying to save this. Good movie. In the beginning, the concentration camps in the beginning were not for the Jews. It was for the political opponents, for the communists. So we have here in Berlin, we have close to Friedrichstraße, we have the memorial. You see tracks for trains. And you see two kids, a boy and a girl, and some baggage, something like that. And that's a memorial because in the 1930s, in the beginning, the Nazis allowed Jewish people to send their kids away to their families or relatives to Britain or to Netherlands and to Belgium. So, and the people knew that. So they were sent to freedom. The kids were sent to freedom. And also a lot of Jewish people were allowed to leave the country in the beginning into freedom. Another very interesting book, Erik Emanuel Schmidt, it's talking about hypothetically how Sigmund Freud is meeting God and discussing the topic, should I stay or should I leave as a Jew? So that's also very interesting. So maybe some people, I especially say maybe because this is so difficult to say that people believe this or that people knew this. This is so difficult. Yeah. So that's why I say maybe. Maybe some people believed that the Jews are sent to somewhere else where they can live and have their lives.
Yeah, just get out of Germany to kind of
that's the thing. And in one case, we have to say they were right. Yes, they were sent to Poland, Auschwitz, Treblinka, Majdanek, and all these places. Absolutely right. So when the Nazis conquered Poland, that's why the Nazis built the death camps not in Germany. They built the death camps in Poland.
Yeah.
So yeah, what the Polish people believe, nobody's interested. The Nazis also killed all the intelligent Poland, like doctors and judges and all the other guys. So nobody was interested if the Polish people knew what's happening to the Jews or not. But what most important thing is that the Germans have no idea. But it's also for me very, 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 very difficult to believe that you had no idea. Let's talk about Berlin. We have here places in Berlin where, we have the Jew Street. So why? Because so many Jewish people live there. You have your colleague at work and your factory are Jewish people, and now he's missing. You don't ask why? You don't ask where is Moshe? Of course. So for me, it's very difficult to believe that people had no idea. I always like to answer this question. They did not want it to know. The people don't want it to know what's happening to all these Jews and Sinti and Roma and Jehovah's Witnesses, to all their neighbors, friends, colleagues. Because if I know, what I do with this knowledge.
Did you ever read about the what's it called? The Milgram experiment? Milgram experiments? He was an American Jew, psychiatrist, I think it was. I'm gonna mess up the story.
Victor Frankl? No, not Victor Frankl.
So he set up this study where he wanted to see how it was that you could convince a whole country to go along with this. And the whole experiment was they basically had someone set up behind a glass and electric chair. And the professor would, he'd bring in this college student, educated college kid, and for help out with the experiment for credits. And he'd say, no, trust me, this is the experiment. We got to get some information out of them. We're just going to test this new method. It's okay. And the guy hooked up to the machine was an actor, but they didn't know that. And so it was all staged and fake, but the college kid didn't know. And basically, whenever the person got the answer wrong, the professor would say, okay, so just hit the button and give him an electrical shock so he knows he got it wrong, right? And he would slowly increase the voltage and say, so now increase the voltage and shock him. And the college kids would go along with it because they trusted the authority so much that they didn't question it. They figured he's got control. I can trust him because he's in control of it. And it would get like violent where the guy's shaking in the chair and screaming and stuff. And they would still keep doing it. They keep administering the shocks because they trusted the authority. And it was an interesting, they talked about making it into a movie, and I kept holding out for the movie. But
what does this say about us, right? What does it say about humankind?
Yeah, we need direction, right? We look to authority and to trust authority. Like we're too trusting with that stuff, and if you put it in the wrong hands, boy, oh boy, people die. You mentioned something earlier, so like with the ones getting sent off. So everyone was trying to get out. Like we mentioned, a lot of Jews tried to escape to the British territories, to Palestine, whatever you want to call it at the time, British just turned them around. Cyprus is a good example of all the camps. They built massive camps on Cyprus that they just dropped the Jews off in these camps to detain them. Everyone was trying to get out of Europe. They didn't want to die. Was that the same with witnesses? Like, was there a point where witnesses, maybe not collectively, but I guess you could say like we're half a congregation or something, goes, you know what, guys, these Nazis aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Let's go to America. Let's go to, let's not go to France. France.
Too close.
If we saw those guys fight in World War I, Nazis are going there next. So, like, was there a spot that they went? Did they decide to go somewhere? Did they just say, you know what, we're going to fight this one out? If we go to the camps, we go to the camps. did they do the same where they sent their kids away? Did some send the kids to get out of the war zone, to stay with family? Was it similar to the Jewish experience?
Not really. So we know that some of them went to Switzerland as a neutral country, the guys with the money. So that's why it's good to stay neutral.
Like The Sound of Music.
Yes.
the family Von Trapp.
The same thing, yeah, same thing. So, if you look at the numbers, when the moment started, when the witnesses have been banned, so then we have a big decrease of numbers. So, like suddenly a few thousand witnesses are missing. What we know is they didn't left Germany. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to find the research what happened to these people, because after the war then was more and more Jehovah's Witnesses. I think maybe one thing can help understand the thinking of the witnesses about running away or not running away, is that Jehovah's Witnesses did not escape the concentration camp. Even later in the 1940s, 42 or something like that, they got like easier jobs or jobs without any guards guarding them. We have no stories that the witnesses escaped. We have the big movie, Steve McQueen, The Big Escape, like all the Americans trying to escape, not the witnesses, for two different reasons. That's not because they loved to be persecuted, definitely not. We don't love to be martyrs, definitely not. But it's not the best thing.
Yeah.
But they knew if they will run away, this will be okay, I'm saving my life, but you will have problems because of that. Because they will persecute you. Did you know about this? Because you are my friend, or you're my family, or they will persecute all the people in the concentration camp because one guy is missing. So that's the reason why the witnesses did never run away of the camps. So that's why I also don't have. I found a few stories that witnesses left Germany, yes, but not in big numbers, like let's go to America because we are an American religion or something stupid like that. No, definitely not. No.
Curious. It's one of those things, like I said, when I was thinking about this, I go, I wonder if it was the same as
not really
the Jewish experience. No. But yeah,
they wanted to fight here. The witnesses wanted to fight and show the people that the Nazis are wrong. This is what I see.
I guess it was a thought that they knew Hitler was going to be on soon. Like they really trusted that they were going to beat him, and they just had to wait it out. And so
the witnesses were 100% sure that this will be over one day. They were, if the poems, I was talking about the poems. That's interesting. The woman, the female Jehovah's Witnesses, they have a lot of poems talking about soon we will be free, soon this will not exist. The Heil is not belonging to Hitler, the Heil, so the salvation is belonging to our God and stuff like that. So they were 100% sure this is not for years. There will be an end with this guy.
So one of the things, I mean, like we have, so right now actually in Israel, when we're recording this, so this is what, October 2022. So we've got a display at the Ghetto Fighters Museum, which is interesting too, because we go back to the idea about them being freedom fighters, so to speak. And in the museum dedicated to the ghetto fighters, we have currently a display about Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're based off oh man, I forgot his name now. I'm terrible with names, but his quote was, "We don't do that," and so he was known as "We don't do that."
Günter Grass.
There you go. See, you're good with names. I'm terrible. It's a match made. So yeah, like I mean, they put him in. They view him as a fighter, right? But now, one of the challenges, with ones I've talked to, that they have is, this term Holocaust. Is the problem. What you got, the concentration camps, and then you have Holocaust. In the Holocaust, a lot of Jews they kind of view that as like, that's the final solution. That's what that was about. The Holocaust was about like Hitler's final plan for the Jews, to wipe them out. It's so, like, as an example, during that time, 80% of all rabbis worldwide were killed. 80%. Like, if you could picture like congregation elders or something, 80% of them around the world being killed. Like, that's like devastating to your religion. So I mean, it was huge. The plan was to wipe them out around the world. So where was I going with this? So we, so I mean, the final solution. This was the idea. I mean, you've got the witnesses were in camps, but as I know, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if witnesses were ever sent to death camps like Treblinka. Like Treblinka, if you everyone listening, if you don't know Treblinka, don't look into it unless you've got a stomach of iron and are okay with having your nightmares being haunted for a while. It's horrific, the stuff that happened at Treblinka. One of the greatest, the craziest atrocities. I don't know if you know this, there's a big lawsuit against the German National Rail Company because they're trying to get reparations because they made the Jews pay for their ticket on the train to the death camp of Treblinka. And so they had to pay they forced them to pay a ticket that took them to a camp that within 24 hours of their arrival, they were brutally tortured and then murdered. Like, there was no escape from Treblinka. So I shouldn't say that. Some, at the end, when the deliberation came, some got out. But otherwise, like, witnesses didn't quite go through that. So from what you've researched and studied with it, when you look at the Holocaust, is it, like, you've got witnesses, you've got Jews. Is it two groups? How did I wrote it down because I thought, oh, this is good and I'll forget how to say it. Yeah, is it a shared history? Or is it two different histories on a shared stage? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, what's your
to
thoughts?
be honest, what is October? 3-4 months ago, I would say I have no idea. I have to research that. But 3 months ago, a friend of mine wrote a book about that. So yeah.
What's the name of the book?
It's in German right now. He's also translating this now in English. I show you this later on a picture. Die unbekannten Judenhelfer, the unknown Jewish helper, unknown Jew helper, something like that. And he was researching for a few years. This is his 4th book, Christoph Wilker, all in German, unfortunately. So another book will be finished January if it works in English. It's about a Jew who became a Jehovah's Witness. That's pretty interesting. And this book about the unknown Jews helper, he hopes that the translation will be finished in 1 year. And I didn't finish the book yet because I love read books. That's why I read so slow. I want to get to remember every word. So what he did is he was researching how Jehovah's Witnesses being persecuted and help Jewish people to survive. And I was very surprised that even some famous Jewish people, Jewish survivors, have been, or could survive because of the help of Jehovah's Witnesses. So we have something like a shared history, definitely. If you talk about, you said the death camps. So as my research showed right now, and I would say in every concentration camp have been at least one Jehovah's Witness. So I have the names of all Jehovah's Witnesses who have been in Auschwitz. That's between 300-400 that have been in Auschwitz. I don't know how many in Treblinka. Now, of course, you will say, okay, Auschwitz, 300-400, and we have 1.1 million dead Jewish people. So, of course, it's very, 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 very small, definitely. The witnesses have been, as you assumed, right, more in the working camps, like Sachsenhausen, like Dachau, like Ravensbrück, and this one. It was not the goal to kill all Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe in the beginning, Hitler said that he wanted to do this. Yeah. But later they realized, okay, they first tried to make them Nazis. That's also a very interesting topic to psychology war against the witnesses. And then they realized, we can use them in a way like, I don't know, giving the jobs that they will not murder us or not kill us, or taking care of the kids of the SS officers, something like that.
Because they could trust them. They wouldn't escape. They wouldn't do crazy things in the camp. So
that's the thing.
It's almost like a useful prisoner.
Yeah. But I will not. Last week, I think it was last week, my wife and I have been on a documentary premiere about a man had the death march from Sachsenhausen, was making a documentary about this. And he, in the last 10 years, he interviewed 6-7 survivors of the death march. And one of them is talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. So I asked after that, the director was there, and then asked him, okay, about witnesses. And then he said in the first one, yeah, they were privileged. But then he changed his wording because he saw my face, I think. So, hey, they were definitely not privileged. It's not like a lot of people think, oh, the witnesses have been there because they wanted to, or something stupid like. Definitely not. Not one Jehovah's Witness wanted to be there. Just because they could sign this declaration doesn't mean that they wanted to stay. The declaration was complete against everything they believed, but
it's still a foot in the grave. You know, if you're at any camp run by the Nazis, you've still got one foot in the grave. So you don't want to be there. I mean, and even with the trust side of it, I mean, you think like, why would I even want a Nazi to trust me to start with? But then that trust ended up enabling them to help people within the camp survive because they were trusted. They were trusted with, like being dentists and things like this, that they could pass information, they could help people get out, or not get out, but help people survive the chambers and things like that. So they were smart about it.
That's the thing. And resistance don't mean that you have to kill somebody. Resistance don't mean that you have go on to the guns, to the weapons, and fight the Nazis. This is what the witnesses showed. They were resisting the Nazis by not supporting them, but even not working for this anything that is connected to the army, to the war, something like that, and telling the people what they are doing. So revealing the lies. But this doesn't mean that the witnesses will, if they have been a barber or something like that, will shave a Nazi, that he will take this opportunity to kill him. Definitely not. That's the big difference. That's a big difference, that people thought that resistance, the only right way of resistance is to kill the Nazis. But doesn't make you a better guy if you kill somebody.
Could you imagine having that job where you're watching this Nazi sitting in the guard tower? Like, I think of like Schindler's List, where you had the guy in the guard tower that was just picking off people. Right. And he comes down to you for a shave, and you've got a straight edge razor going up against his neck. Like, you watch this guy murder people day after day, and you got a knife to his neck. The amount of self-control that takes, and a prayer, shall we say, that it would take to not just make a slip. Like, I mean, you probably would get to the point on some days. I got to imagine that there's days that were more depressing than others. There were probably days where you thought you weren't going to get out, where you thought you were in there for 2 years, and you go, this is it. I'm going to die here. What's the point anymore? I'm shaving this guy. If I'm going out, I'm taking him with me. Like, I don't know, I always feel like that's, with that trust, they have the trust, but then to maintain the control, to realize kind of the big picture of this, that they will get out of it, but it's how many of us will get out of it. And if I do something stupid, we're all going to pay for this. That amazes me. You put yourself in that scenario, and you're like, could I do that? We all like to think that we wouldn't, when you're shaving a Nazi, that you wouldn't slip with the razor, but if you're in that pressure cooker of a situation, you go, boy, I'd never want to be in that. I don't want to be in that situation to find out how I would react. That's, I just pray I never get down there. But the amount of self-control, wow.
I think that the word that you use, the big picture, I think that's that thing. To have this big picture and to understand, okay, who am I? What should I do? And who is the God that I believe in? And did I believe that he really will make the things right? And so on. When you said this, it was reminding me of a spy movie I watched a few days ago. And that spy wanted to kill the bad guy. And he said, you are not allowed to kill me because I have so many contacts, and your government will use me and will get my informations to get the worst guys.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, yes, that's a big picture. So, so
Yeah.
what's worse? Not to kill that guy, as you said, having this knife, or use him for your government because he has some things that you want to have as a government, as a nation.
Yeah.
And not take him to trial. So I think that, that's.
It's actually, here's a question, because you said the word trial and it popped in my head. Were witnesses ever called as testimony givers for some of the Nuremberg trials or some of the trials that happened in Israel? I mean, I should probably know this, and I don't know. Were witnesses called to testify at any point?
So I found stories that they were called and denied.
Oh.
That they did not went. So I found at least one, or there was two stories. People were asked for, I think, was the Nuremberg, and also other trials, and that they said no. I think, if I'm right, also Simon's Liebster mom was also called to trial, and she said, I think she did. I have to recheck this in her book again, Facing the Line, that she was not telling everything that this woman have. That's an interesting story. The woman, there was a neighbor who was telling the Nazis that, hey, these are the witnesses, and because of that neighbor, the Liebster family, the Arnold family, Simon Arnold, was sent to this concentration camps and other things. And after that, if I remember right, the mom was not going to the trial, and after that, this neighbor got cancer, and Simon's mom took care of her until she died. So, this is also something that, as I know, there are not so many stories that Jehovah's Witnesses went to try to talk as a witness or testimony against some other people.
Yeah. How much history do you think's been lost in all of this?
Too much.
Too much.
Too much. Yeah, definitely too much. Definitely too much. It's a real pity. It's that's a thing. I'm getting really mad about this. When the war ends, nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody. Wolfgang Benz, the very famous and funny historian, he said, when the war was over, all German people had the fist of resistance deep in the pockets the whole 12 years. So when the war was over, they poked the fist out of the pocket, and yes, this was my fist of resistance against the Nazis. All Germans. Yeah. So nobody wanted to be reminded what they have done, what they were voting for, what they were did not wanted to see, did not wanted to know. And so the witnesses also decided, not to, in the beginning, yes, to say, hey, guys, we survived this in a concentration camp, we did this, and in the first 4 or 5 years, we were talking about that we have been persecuted, and the communists are the same, and so on. They're also persecuting us, and that's it. And then they stopped really focusing on this because, the people did not want to hear this. So that's what a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses were not telling their stories. And it started in the 80s, 90s, when these guys have been 60, 70, 80 years old. And and of course, you will never forget a concentration camp, but you will forget details, right?
Yeah.
You mix names, you mix states and stuff like that. And sometimes you read the testimonial of a witness and you say, hey, this was 1 month earlier or 1 month later. Yes, of course, 40 years later, you did not really remember when exactly this happens. Was it before Christmas or after Christmas, stuff like that. So there's so many history that, that got lost.
I will come back to one thing you said, but did you ever see on Netflix, they did a documentary, The Devil Next Door, I think it was called.
Yes.
About
Demjanjuk?
Ivan the Terrible. Yeah, Demjanjuk. And so that
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
big trial in Israel in the
yeah.
90s. And that's when they realized that the clock is ticking. That, you know, because Israel was leading the charge on these trials of these Nazi propagators, I guess you could call them. And yeah, they realized as they're bringing guys up, and I mean, they asked the one guy, they go, so he came from Miami to Israel. And they said, so how did you get here? He goes, we took the train. From Florida? No, how did you get here from Florida? Yeah, we took the train. You took the train from Florida to Israel. They go, no further questions. They're like, you know, but then, you know, and they go, but okay, yeah, well, he can't remember what he ate for breakfast, but he will not forget what he saw in that camp. And
Yes.
like that's etched in his mind. And, you know, and they got it where, you know, in the one case they said, you know, you wrote in your memoir that you killed Ivan the Terrible. And here you're staring him in the eye saying, there he is. So are you lying then or are you lying now? And he was like, look, we needed a win. I needed to believe we killed him. So I lied. And like, oh, so you were lying then. How do we trust you? You're dismissed. Right. And you know, Israel just started to realize this is it. I mean, you're at the end of the line of being able to pull this history out and you missed it. So a bit like with that, God, you could come back to the God issue. Let's start up where we started.
I have later two jokes, two Nazi jokes with God included in this.
Okay, well,
remind me this, and also about the tickets. Or can I say that about the tickets? You're talking that they were sending tickets to because it shows, yeah, this madness of the Nazis, right? That it's not logical, or you can't understand that. People who have been executed by the Nazis, so hanged or beheaded or something like that, the family get the bill for this. You paid for the hanging or beheading of your wife or something like that. You have even on that bill, you had to pay for the stamp that sent the bill to you. So it's like, yeah.
It's a whole nother level, right? And that, I mean, yes. And that's the God factor, right? So I got a joke too. I'll tell on this one. This is one of my favorite jokes from Israel. But so they mentioned, I mean, 80% of rabbis, teachers of the Torah and stuff were killed in the Holocaust worldwide. There's a Jewish theologian, Rabbi Abraham Heschel, and he surmised, there is no answer to Auschwitz. To try to answer is to commit the supreme blasphemy. And that's because they've always had consensus in the past, the scholars, Jewish scholars. So, you know, why did God allow Babylon to come in? Well, idolatry, immorality, they walked away from the law, they deserved it. We deserved it as a people. Okay, what about 70 with the Romans? Well, we had wanton hatred for each other. We had violence. We deserved it. We had it coming. We walked away from God's law. We were greedy and rivals with each other. It's not the way God wanted us to be. We deserved it. And they go, oh, why the Holocaust? Well, we don't want to talk about that, because the only answers they can come up with is, you know, that that's just how God is with his people. And it's like, well, if God is so brutal and unloving, then why would you want to be his people if that's what he does to them? And then the other idea is like, well, maybe God's just not there. And then you're like, oh, like either way, you're blaspheming, right? So they just try to they just don't talk about it, right? There is no answer for the Holocaust. So the joke I heard, and I love this joke, I feel really encapsulates the modern Jewish person and perspective, just in life in general towards God. And I maybe told this one to you before, about it's the rabbi on Sabbath. I got this from a friend in Israel. I'll give him a shout out, Mitch. Mitch gave me this joke. So the rabbi is in Jerusalem on just before Sabbath. He's driving around, he's looking for a parking spot because he wants to go to the wall to pray. And, you know, if you've ever been to Jerusalem, you know there's no parking in Jerusalem. So he's driving in circles, he's going around, he's getting stuck in traffic, he's getting frustrated, he's looking at the clock. So he finally just pulls the car over, he closes his eyes. Lord, oh Lord, all I want today is just to pray and worship you. I just want to go to the wall before Sabbath. Is that so much to ask? I know you got the power. You've got the ability. You're God Almighty. And if in your power and ability, you can open a parking spot for me, I would be grateful forever to you. Amen. And he opens his eyes, and there in front of him, a car pulls out. And he goes, oh, he clutches his heart. Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. And don't worry about it. I found my own spot. So it's the whole idea is like, when times are tough, it's just God isn't there for you. But then, you just got to do it yourself. So things work out. It's because you figured it out. So I love this.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
So it's the Jewish people. I mean, things are going well for them. We talk to people. I'll talk to someone that they're an atheist, and they have a kippah on. They got the mezuzah on the door, and they're like, God, don't talk to me about God. I don't believe in God. I'm atheist. Go, atheist. Oh, I said, okay, very interesting. I mean, Israel's got the highest ratio of atheists in the world. And you go, atheist. Oh, well, okay. So what are you doing in Israel? Because you're not real Israeli. You're, from Europe. Yeah, from Europe. So what are you doing here? Oh, well, I mean, it's the land God chose for us. But
which God?
I thought you're atheist. And they go, well, just in case. Right. And the Holocaust really shattered the perspective for Jews, where they just don't know anymore. I mean, like I said before, I mean, the Orthodox, shaved off the locks and hid their clothing, and they hid that they were Jews because they just didn't know they would get out of this. They didn't know God was saving them. And this feeling of neutrality that God's going to come was just something that they just lost their faith completely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I said, highest ratio of atheism in the world is in Israel. I mean, I could be wrong. Someone's probably going to fact check me, but it's pretty high. It's in the top 10, I think. So, so I guess, I mean, like we talked about, the witnesses have this different perspective. What's the outlook, like the immediate aftermath of the witnesses coming out of the Holocaust as far as faith, their perspective of God and the Holocaust? Mm-hmm. And then even like you had mentioned, it's not till the 1980s that this stuff is really coming out. What brought out these stories from witnesses? What was it like? Was it a testament to faith to try and encourage people with their faith? And was there a sentiment that the Holocaust is this question mark also for witnesses? Or was it always just known that, no, this is just the world. This is how it works. No one's questioning this and why this is happening. What's your thoughts on?
So if we talk about the faith to God, it's a complete opposite to what happened to the Jews, I would say. One of my favorite quotes is from 1946, so just 1 year after the war, so it's very close. The witnesses, by coincidence, it was not planned, they had in the same city and the same weekend a convention, or the first big convention, one of the first biggest conventions in Germany after the war, when and where was also the trials of the Nazis in Nuremberg. So you can imagine they have, and this on the other part of the city are the Nazis put onto trial, and the other part of the city's witnesses have the big convention. And Erich Frost, in the same weekend, and Erich Frost is saying this quote that he said to
and for the listeners who don't know, Eric Frost is the one that composed the song that you were singing earlier about.
Yes, that's firm. The guy. So, that's the guy.
Okay, so he has,
very good, because he have been in different concentration camps for 9 years. This man, and he survived this. So an amazing story. His amazing story. So 46, he said about this Nazi Nuremberg trial, to experience this, which is a victory of God against his enemies, was worth to be 9 years in a concentration camp. I love that quote. It's first to say it was worth to be at a concentration camp for 9 years, and he really did. It was not just a theory, he really survived 9 years. Yeah. And then to say, okay, this was a victory of my God against his enemies, against his, So this Holocaust thing, this persecution of from the Nazis, it has a complete opposite, thing than
opposite
the Jews. Effect, thank you, yes. So they their belief and their trust into their God was stronger than before. That's really happened.
And you had mentioned about that, I mean, big explosion of
Mm-hmm.
witnesses as well after, right? So was a lot of this from the average German who had seen witnesses do what they wish they did? Like they didn't have the courage, the faith, the whatever you call it. In Hebrew, in Israel, we call it the chutzpah, to stand up to the Nazis. They saw the witnesses do it for years. The Nazis are gone, and now that's what causes them to go, we're going with you people. I don't know what you got, but I want some of that. Was that the connection, or was it just
also? I think especially this way, this thing was. So we have stories about SS officers who became Jehovah's Witnesses. That's pretty interesting. So these are people who saw them in a concentration camp. We have stories about SS officers meeting another Jehovah's Witnesses years after that on conventions and say, hey, I'm also now Jehovah's Witnesses. So in the camp, I was guarding you and I could kill you, and I didn't. And now and what you have done convinced me that I was wrong and you was right. So a lot of these would say convinced Nazis. A lot of them realized that they were wrong, and how the witnesses behaved. This was the reason why they became Jehovah's Witnesses. But I think that the most why directly after the war German people became Jehovah's Witnesses was because the witnesses were telling good news. They realized it makes not really sense to say them all the time, hey, you did this, you made Nazis here, Nazis there. They were talking about, okay, what happens. This was said in the Bible. We knew that this will happen. We knew that the Nazis will be destroyed. And now the next step is paradise. So they were talking to the good news. And finally, already the Germans could listen to good news. Because for 12 years, it was all lies. And now they got the good news. And I think that's the reason why so many people became Jehovah's Witnesses directly after the war. So from 9,000 to 55 in just 4 or 5 years. So that was very, very, very fast, a lot of people. So to listen finally to something good and not only to this bad thing. And that's why also I think that witnesses, as I said, did not talk about this until the 90s, 80s. So the reason why we start to talk is Detlef Garbe, Dr. Detlef Garbe. He is not a Jehovah's Witness, he's a historian, and he wrote this book, Between Martyrdom and Resistance. And this was like the first big book talking or focusing on Jehovah's Witnesses in the Nazi time. And from then also the witnesses realized, oh, our survivors are also old. And then we have the stand firm video and the stand firm exhibition. And that's the moment when it was bigger and bigger. And then a lot of the survivors start to write books, like Horst and Hermine Schmidt, like the Liebsters, like Max Hollweg and Kusero, and all the other people wrote books and books and books. And now, as I know only 3 Jehovah's Witnesses who are still alive, who have been victims of the Nazis. Maybe there are more.
It's only 3 left. That's it.
I only know 3.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Simon Arnold Liebster in France. Yeah. It's Paul Gerhard Kusero. He's also known 96, 97, something like that. And Hermine Liske. Oh, sorry, Hermine Liske. She is in Austria. And the 4th one is, I got months ago that she's still alive, Hermine Schmidt, the one who wrote the book Unfettered Joy. So 4, sorry. That's what I know. Maybe there are more. I don't know, but that's the craziest thing about Jehovah's Witnesses in the Nazi time is it makes no sense to persecute them. 0.03% of the population have been Jehovah's Witnesses. Why do you focus on such a small group? How can you be afraid of such a small group? 0.03%. It makes absolutely no sense. So that's why, 4 among this small part is still a lot, because it's not like there were millions of witnesses, right? Yeah. We're talking about between So in the beginning, 25,000. So we talk between 15 and 25,000 Jehovah's Witnesses who have been persecuted by the Nazis. So yeah, it's nothing. It's not a big number. And the ones who are now still alive, there have been kids at that time, right? So
and I think that's kind of the sad thing that a lot of, I know in Israel, you can really sense it, that they're trying to come to grips with, is it's we're losing it. We're losing the history war, shall we say, that as these ones die off. I mean, most kids in school don't even know what the Holocaust is anymore. Like they have no clue what it is. And
in Israel,
well, like in America and Canada,
okay.
most of the kids I went to school with, even, they didn't really know, like, I don't know, something Nazis did. But then, everybody's a Nazi these days. There's actually a comedy show in Israel called The Jews Are Coming. And it's kind of funny. It's only in Hebrew though, but they have a sketch where the guy's at the table and he goes, "Oh, look at that guy. Nazis," right? He's like, you can't just, everyone you disagree with, call them a Nazi. That's getting kind of old. And the camera pans across and it's Hitler sitting at the table. He's like, "No, I'm telling you, this guy's actually a Nazi." He's like, and I'm tired of this. I Nazi this, Nazi that. And it's a commentary on this idea that when you start calling everybody a Nazi, you can't actually see the actual Nazi in the room anymore. And and then at the end, Hitler comes over and goes, "Oh, don't worry, he doesn't understand people like us." It's just like, so like, it's crazy. Like the sense of humor the Jews have gotten out of this, it's like this, I mean, tragedy, comedy comes from tragedy, right? The Greek thought. And it's tragic, not only the Holocaust, but the fact that we're losing the history of the Holocaust before we've had a chance to really preserve it. So it's interesting. But what's, I got to hear your jokes though. You
not so fast, my friend. Not so fast.
No, not so fast. Not so fast. I'm waiting for you to work them in.
I'm still thinking about should I tell this joke or not? I have to convince myself.
we can edit it. If you don't hear it on the final version, we cut it. It was too racy.
That's good. That's good. But what you said about this, I remember a talk of an American Jehovah's Witness here in Germany. It was a few years ago, and he was talking about that somebody's always, that to be on time, it's very important for him, that you never be late and so on. And he said, "Yeah, a time Nazi." And he said this in Germany. Oh, this was so fun. I was sitting there, I was thinking, okay, let's see how this German translator would translate that. Call a German witness a time Nazi. It's impossible. The translator, he was sweating. It was, and he was describing this, and the American witness was looking at him. "Hey, I just said 2 words, and you're talking and talking and talking. What you're translating?" Because yes, you can't call anybody in Germany that he is a Nazi if he's not. If he is a neo-Nazi, of course. But if somebody would call me a Nazi, I would say, "Hey, guy, I got to try on you because, hey, you're not allowed." So that's in the American or the English language, you have this, that you call somebody a Nazi, but we don't do this in Germany. Definitely not. It's impossible. And the other thing is about history. Here in Germany, for one whole year, we talk at school only about the Holocaust. Only about that. And we all go with the kids to the memorial or to the former concentration camp or whatever. It's that they, and I think it's a good idea, so that all the kids will get the story about the Nazis. All the kids will see a concentration camp or something like that, to remind them what happened. So here in Germany, it's I think they realized how important it is to know history, to try that this will not happen again. But then the next question is why in Germany the 4th or 5th biggest political party is a party that I'm not allowed to call a Nazi party. That's why I don't call them like that, just in case if they will if you put this on Spotify.
There's semblance to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Well,
that's the thing.
it's interesting that they take kids there, right? Because I mean, like the Holocaust Museum in Israel. How old do they? What's the age limit? Do you remember? Like they don't allow kids to go into it.
If you talk about kids, so sorry, but if I 14.
Oh, it's 14. Okay, so I think
it's
that's
14.
the same. I think that's the same then in Israel. Yeah, because it's like it's mature subject matter. Like
that's the time when we talk about this 14, 15. That's at school. Maybe so. I like to ask kids in Germany, even if they're 10 or 12, do they know who or not? So today we visited some friends, and she is 13 years old, and I asked her if she knows who was Joseph Goebbels, because I wanted to tell her a joke that I will tell you later. And she had no idea who was Joseph Goebbels. I do know who is Adolf Hitler, and she said, yes, of course, who was Adolf Hitler, but not getting the whole Nazi. So I think it's 14, 15 when you get the whole Nazi story that they were talking about. I got you. That joke. I tell you the joke.
I know the joke, and it's a great joke.
You know the joke already, right?
I've tried to retell it, and I can't. You need the German accent. I can't.
So would you say? Is it okay to tell it, or should I stop it and say I forgot it?
So it set it up that if one so know, Goebbels was the head of the propaganda divisions, right? Was it SS as well, like or just
yes?
the
Himmler was SS.
Oh, Himmler was SS. Yeah. Goebbels was information and propaganda and all that stuff. And I mean, but I mean that's the thing. Like the comedy comes from tragedy. This was one of the most tragic events in history. It was horrific. Some of the things, anyone that's really done research or even just watch Schindler's List. I mean, how do you watch Schindler's List and not break out in tears? Like it's terrible what they did. Yeah, like it's amazing to think that people could do this to other people. Like you read about stuff with like, old history, like with the Mongols and ones like this. And you're like, well, there's always been brutality. And it's like, yeah, the Mongols, they did some crazy stuff, but it's never on this level as what the Nazis did. There was a thought out intent, and it's an evil nature to it.
And the organization, like it's organized, right?
It was top down organization, and everyone was just kind of, what was it, Des?
They do not permit children under 10.
Under 10. You can't be under 10 at the Holocaust Museum in Israel.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Desiree. So, yeah, it's, where is it going with this? Yeah, it's whole
we're talking about the tragedy.
The tragedy.
Yeah.
So,
comedy, tragedy.
Comedy comes from tragedy, and there's a lot of humor out there and jokes, but I mean, it's always a little dark, and you always feel a little like, you feel strange of like whether or not you're allowed to laugh at it, right? Because this is like, I mean, that's the Holocaust. Millions of people died brutally, but then you have these jokes that do exist, and so it's a fascinating look into the perspective of what people found would be funny in these time periods right after the Holocaust. So the Goebbels joke is a good example.
Please remind me about a comedy movie later that I want to tell about a comedy movie because Goebbels, so Goebbels propaganda minister, very important. That's information, very important. So Goebbels dies. Goebbels died and he went to heaven. That heaven, the St. Peter is opening the gates of heaven and inviting him in, and Goebbels is surprised. Oh man, I'm in heaven. And then Peter says, yeah, don't ask me. Yeah. Don't ask me why, but you, Joseph Goebbels, a high-ranked Nazi, you are allowed to choose, do you want to stay after life in heaven or do you want to be in afterlife in hell? So it's your decision. Okay, so Goebbels take a walk around in heaven, and it's, heaven. Nice, boring, nothing, but peace, love, great. Okay, let's check out what's in hell. He's coming to hell, and that's a big party. Girls, drugs, alcohol, discotheque, biggest party that he ever saw. Amazing. So he comes back and says, Peter, I go to hell. I mean, why? I go to hell. That's an amazing party. I go to hell. Are you sure? Yes, of course. I want to go to that. So of course it's because it's a German guy. So we need a form. So yes, we have to the number of contract and stuff like that, and have to sign and thank you very much. And we have 3 copies. One is for you, one for me, one for the archive, and go to hell. So Goebbels said, Cheerio, let's go to hell, and the gates of hell are opening, and there is the hell. Demons, small devils, everlasting fire, burning tortures, hell, no parties. And Goebbels is so shocked. So he's shouting to Peter, Peter, where are the girls? Where's the alcohol? Where's the drugs? Where's the party? And Peter shouting from heaven, this was propaganda. I love the joke.
Like it's classic, but that's the perspective of what people wanted, right?
An interesting thing is that this joke was invented during the Nazi time. So that's not a joke after the war. This is a joke when Goebbels was still ruling, that he was still the propaganda guy. And we have proof that people who were telling this joke and other jokes in pubs, something like that, have been sent to concentration camp by telling this joke or by laughing about this joke. That's why I love to tell this joke, to keep him alive for all the people who have been sent to a concentration camp, because that joke is great. That joke is amazing, and people should hear this joke. So that's why I will not stop telling it.
Could you imagine being in the concentration camp and everyone's looking at you going, so what are you in for? You go, okay, so Goebbels, he dies and he goes to heaven. Like, you just go into the joke. It's like, oh man, I'm going to get us all sent to the chamber. Like I mean, you're already in the camp, right? But what a way to go.
Why not telling the people with this joke, inventing new jokes, right? So
yeah, I mean, if you can get a guard to laugh at it, then he's in there with you.
And if you talk about comedy tragedy, it reminded me when people ask me if I would recommend one movie about the Holocaust, I would say it's La Vida è Bella. Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni.
Yeah.
Amazing. How to make a comedy about the Holocaust, to make jokes, and you watch this movie and you laugh and cry in the same second. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I think never ever was anybody create a movie like that. Yeah. That's just the best movie.
He won the Academy Award for that too, if I remember right.
Did.
Like
he was jumping on the chairs. He was jumping on the chairs with the other people. But that's, if nobody watched this movie, yes, that's, if there's one movie about Holocaust, then this one.
Yeah. Yeah, like Schindler's List was definitely, I mean, I think even Spielberg admitted it, that this was just the project he felt he needed to do, the story he needed to tell, right? And it's an interesting story. But yeah, Life is Beautiful is very much, it's a real perspective of this idea of trying to find anything to hold on to in this dark time. That if you don't have God through this thing, what do you hold on to? You can only hold on to your sense of humor. And I mean, the Jews are famous for their sense of humor. And so it's really, I mean, they had their humor, they had their music, you know, everything else kind of just died out with most of the culture died in, a couple more years. It's a reality. Had the thing gone on a couple more years, or there wouldn't be, I wouldn't be here. It'd be like Back to the Future. I would just disappear. Like I wouldn't exist. It's crazy. It's crazy how close he got to wiping out, not just wiping out an entire race, but being able to do it worldwide and to cause it to be. I mean, you had anti-Semitism coming from the British and the Americans and the Canadians, and like, it's just everyone seemed to be on board with this, that the Jews were at fault on this, and the witnesses too. And that's the interesting thing. That's why I asked the question about, is it a similar story, or is it two different stories on the same stage? Because you look at all these countries as well, the British Commonwealth and America and everywhere, as quickly as they're anti-Semitic, they're also throwing witnesses in camps and banning them. And like you say, this is a fraction of a percentage of the population, and everyone's terrified of what the witnesses are saying. And it's kind of like, how dare you say that we're against God for doing these kind of things? And yeah, it definitely hit a nerve on the morality, that when you start looking at how interesting it is that witnesses were lumped in that when they seem to have nothing to, they were of such little consequence. What do you care about witnesses? But yeah, they were in there. So yeah, it's fascinating.
That's why I like, and if you go to the beginning of this podcast, that's why I love to research about this. It's really amazing to try to understand the thinking of the witnesses during the Holocaust, to read about them. And as you said, yeah, they don't live anymore. There's a project here in Germany, I really like that. It's called Second Witness. So it's like they want the people who still live tell the people to us their story, and now I became a witness for him. So I will carry his story. I will carry what he was talking about to the next generation. So I think that's very, very important to remember what they have done. And in the case of the witnesses, it makes me proud. It was I was raised as a Catholic, and with my grandpa, I was going to the church twice a week and stuff like that. It was always cold and dark and wet, but still. And I was also interested in different kind of religions. Was learning Japanese, so I was interested in Buddhism, Shintoism, and this kind of, and so I found very interesting things in the Muslim religion and stuff like that. But when I met the witnesses who survived the Holocaust, I was 14 or something like that. Then when I remember this thinking in my mind, I want to be a part of them. I was so proud of these people, and I want to say, hey, I want to belong to these people, because what they have done as a group, nobody have done. We have individuals, yes, we have individuals who also were fighting the Nazis. But we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the city or something like that. But as a group, there's no other like the witnesses. Nobody. And that's interesting. In a country with 60, 70, 80 million people, and we have only the witnesses who as a group said, we will not do what the Nazis want. Not the Catholic Church, not the Protestant Church, not any other religions, not any other organizations, not the students who should be intelligent people, not the professors who should, I don't know, fight for the freedom of speech and not to have the idea of burning books, because that's the idea of it's not an idea of the Nazis, it's the idea of the students and professors to burn books. Yeah. How stupid is that? So yeah, that's why I decided, hey, I like that, these kind of people, this group, and that's why I decided later to become also Jehovah's Witness. Because of this reading.
I learned something else new today.
I didn't told you that yet?
No.
Oh.
Well, that's I'm learning all sorts of things today. But my beer is now empty, so we're getting close to wrapping this thing up. This is going to be the timer for these things. It's when the beer runs out. We're getting out of time. Closing remarks? Any closing thoughts? Any other jokes?
I have one more, yes.
Well, one more, and then yeah, this would be a nice junction that then we can cut it and we could just put the ending and go, yeah, that one was too racy for Spotify. Well,
okay, so that's a Adolf Hitler joke. So Adolf Hitler, and again, that joke also during the Nazi time. And you've been also sent to a concentration camp by telling this joke. So that's why I want to remember this one. Adolf Hitler is with his driver, with his chauffeur, driving through Germany, through the Reich, and to inspect how it's everything working. And they are in a small village, and a pig is jumping on the road, and the driver cannot hit the brake fast enough and is hitting the pig, and the pig is dead. So Adolf Hitler saying, "Oh, the German farmer was so hard fighting for this German pig. I have to apologize. I have to say apologize for his hard work." So Adolf Hitler is going to this German farmer to apologize, and 5 minutes later he comes back. He got a black eye. He got beaten because you killed that pig. So they're driving in another village, and the same thing happens. So another pig was killed, and Hitler's saying, "Oh no, that German farmer, he was really hard working for this German pig. I have to apologize." So he's going to another farmer, and 5 minutes later he's coming back, and another black eye got beaten again. Oh man, okay, driving, another village, complete different region, same situation again. A big pig is jumping on the street, didn't hit the brakes, killed us, and Hitler's thinking, saying, "Well, the German farmer, he was really hard working, but when I go again, they will kill me." So he's saying to this driver, "You have to go to apologize to this German farmer for what you have done." So the German farmer going to this, the German driver is going to the farmer, and 5 minutes later, he's not coming back. 1 hour, he's not coming back. 2 Adolf Hitler is thinking, "Oh no, they killed my driver." So 4 hours later, the driver is coming back completely drunk, with gifts, with food, with bread, with wine, with vodka, with meat, a lot of gifts, and then it's coming back completely drunk. And Hitler is asking, what happened when I went to the German driver to apologize? I was bitter, and you're going to apologize, and you get gifts, and you're drunk. What have you said? And the German driver saying, "Nothing. I just get in and I said, 'Hey, Hitler, the pig is dead.'" Yeah. For that joke, you and I, because I was telling and you were laughing, would be in a concentration camp now.
It's worth going to a camp for.
So never forget those jokes.
Yeah, it's amazing what gets you through dark times, right? But or what lands you into dark times. Well,
I'm pretty sure these people who was telling these jokes would be happy and proud if they would knew that we are telling these jokes until today.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe one day in the future we get to meet them, and we can tell them the joke and say, "Hey, you know, it survived."
That's nice. I never think about that. I like that.
You can steal that one. Well, greatly appreciate it. I'm happy that you are our first podcast guest. Like I said, we every time we were doing a program in the early days of during COVID, we'd always hear from people, I have 2 favorite programs, you guys and Thomas. You guys are just the best, the 2 of you. And we go, wow, we got to check them out at some point. So,
guess what? People are talking to the same.
Yeah. and then we go, wow, we got to collaborate. And it's like 2 years later. So finally, so the podcast, I thought finally the nice format that we can do this and set it up in a long format. Because I mean, we tend to do programs, our typical Taste and See TV is only about 30 minutes long. So it's hard to fit a topic like this into 30 minutes and do it justice. So I learned quite a bit today, and some questions I didn't know I had, and I got a few more jokes out of this. So I
remember the parking slot. I like the parking slot.
It's one of my favorite jokes because you see it all the time. It's like I said, there's no God when you need him, and then if something good happens, it's because you figured it out yourself. So it's the Israeli mentality, but
it's like the joke that when you when the flood is coming, you know that the flood is coming and there's rescue guys are coming to your home and say, "Hey, the flood is coming." No, I pray to my God will help me. And so the rescue guys go away, and the flood is coming, and so you're in the first floor, and they're coming with a boat, and "Hey, girl, you have to go, we have to rescue you because of it get higher. No, I'm praying to my God will help me." So the boat is going away, and then more and more water, and he's on the roof, and the helicopter is coming, and hey, we have to rescue you. No, I pray to my God, he will help me. And so the helicopter is going away, and the flood, and the guy drones and is in heaven, and it's angry at God and saying, God, I prayed to you so much, I believed in you, and you never helped me. And he said, come on, first the rescue guys, then the boat, then the helicopter, what more?
That's great. I love it. Man, this is good. That's good. I got like 3 new jokes now. I can't just tell them to anybody, but at least I have 3.
That's the problem. So I'm interested if you would put everything on Spotify. Let's see this. I might enjoy this. It was great. I was nervous a little bit, but it was my first time. So it was pretty fun. Thank you for that.
No, it's good. Thank you for coming. So again, if people want to check out your tours and your programs, the website again is
historyofjw.tours. And as you said, yes, I'm also working on a pay-per-view streaming thing like you do, because I realized that less and less friends one-to-ones on Zoom, and the time change is a big problem. So I should have the tours at 2 a.m. my time. That would be the best, but I want to sleep at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the idea.
That's how we are too. We were having a hard time doing live on location at 2 a.m. in Jerusalem. And now let's go to East Jerusalem for some real action. So,
some flashlights.
Yeah. We joked the odd time that we were going to do a live on location Gaza Strip and show the rocket show, but it's if you ever want something for dark humor, you can look up there's a video on YouTube of someone in Ashkelon filmed the rockets from Gaza getting shot, and they set the theme song from Star Wars to it. And it's pretty good.
I do. I will search that.
But it's pretty crazy, because the rockets are like, it's if you're in it, it is quite frightening. So it's, but that's where you get the comedy out of it. And it's an Israeli adding Star Wars music to it and laughing at it, because I mean it's pretty traumatic at times. But no, we appreciate it. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us, Tomek. And we'll see everybody on the next podcast.
Hope that. See you next time.